That was my kid brother broke his arm. You did a good job, Doc, even if you was drunk.
Thank you, sir. Professional compliments are always pleasing. Yes, sir. What happened to that boy whose arm I fixed?
He was murdered.
Welcome, everyone, back to Let's Take 5, the podcast where we look at one of the greats of cinema and discuss their excellence and range. My name is Eric Martindale.
My name is Austin Liger.
And today we are doing a wrap-up episode of John Ford. We cover 5 films for John Ford, like we do with everyone. And the first film that we covered was Stagecoach, followed by Grapes of Wrath, then My Darling Clementine, then The Searchers, and we finally wrapped up with The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. So in this final episode, in our wrap-up episodes, we kind of just talk about the person, their pantheon, talk about whatever we want to talk about, right, Austin?
Yeah.
And in this case, at the end of this, we will rank our 5 films, and then we will choose the person, the next cinema legend for our next 5. So what do we think about John Ford?
He made so many movies.
He made a ton of movies.
I'm looking at just his IMDb right now, and I really can't think of another 5 we've done where I'm like, oh, we need to do a John Ford part 2. Like, years down the line.
Yeah,
There's
because
just so many, different types of things he did. Like,
we didn't cover any of his Best Picture nominees or winners.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right there.
We got some nominees.
Which one?
Stagecoach was nominated.
Well, Grapes of Wrath was too.
Yeah.
That was a lie.
Yeah.
We didn't get any of his winners.
We did not get him as winners. But, the guy did so many different kind of things. He did, war films, The Long Voyage Home. He did comedies like Mr. Roberts, with where Jack Lemmon won an Oscar. Mm-hmm. And
How Green Is My Valley.
How Green Is My Valley. And The Quiet Man, which is more of a romantic look at John Wayne. And, of course, even more.
Definitely not a Western either.
No.
Yeah, we basically tackled, with the exception of Grapes of Wrath, we tackled the Western John Ford. Mm-hmm. It's almost like if you were going to do John Ford, you would do the Western John Ford, and then you would do another 5 not Western John Ford, just so you could sort of
And Grapes of Wrath feels like an unofficial Western.
Yeah, because they have to go west.
Yeah. And it's filmed like it.
It's filmed like a Western. There's dust on everything. Mm-hmm. It definitely has that feel too. 100%.
This guy just feels like the most confident director. Even when we said that he kind of didn't nail a tone, God, the guy didn't make a lazy shot in any movie. Yeah, no, I agree with that. He's, and also so well, the movies are so tight. They're so wonderfully edited. They're so fast paced, with the exception of probably Grapes of Wrath. But the movies move, that's kind of the nature of the story. But every movie feels like it never lingers too long on one shot. They exist for as long as was required, and then we move on to the next scene. And I know we brought it up on Stagecoach, but it isn't a wonder why Orson Welles watched Stagecoach so many times before he made Citizen Kane, because it's so well edited. It's so well edited. It's so tight. And it's funny, the Liberty Valance flew by for me, but The Searchers didn't in a way that felt deliberate. I actually felt the passage of time. The movie is only 2 minutes shorter than Liberty Valance.
It's a much longer journey, though.
Yeah, the scenes are longer. You really kind of feel the time passing in a way that made it a greater film. It's a secret 3-hour film, essentially, because it's not, and yet you know this wasn't a weekend journey. Yeah,
but then the films have the majesty of a 3-hour film. Mm-hmm. None of these films are 3 hours, but you sit down to watch them, and you feel like, well, The Searchers has got to be a 3-hour and 25-minute film, right? Mm-hmm. No, it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, well, The Man That Shot Liberty Valance has got to be that, right? Grapes of Wrath has got to be that, right? No, none of these films are. They're not that long, but they have, a lot of them had the weight and the majesty that you'd expect from an epic that would be that long. Because typically when we think of a great Hollywood epic, or not even a great Hollywood epic, just the epics in general, if you're not pushing 3 hours, you didn't put the work in. And these films feel like they're going to be that way, and they almost feel the weight of that because it feels like so much has happened. But they're not that long.
And they have this timeless feel to them, because some people are very hesitant to watch older films. They go, okay, it's going to look cheap and bad. The way he just kind of kept using the scenery, and just kept using his technical prowess, these movies are actually very easy for people to watch now in 2018, because just even the sequences like in Stagecoach and The Searchers still have that true essence of awe that you get from summer blockbusters right now. It's not just me being a snob going the 1939 action films I like over the Avengers. No, you see 30 horses going through an action scene, and you go, holy crap.
I'm going to flat out say I do, because because of that, because of the technical feat of it, to me, it was so impressive. I mean, I keep going back to that Stagecoach, that final action set piece. Like, it's so good. It's so good because it feels so real. There's a truth behind it. You actually feel like the characters are in some sort of real danger because you're actually seeing guys flying by on horses, people hopping onto things they shouldn't be hopping onto. And, of course, there's people shooting at each other. I don't think he ever actually topped the action that he had in Stagecoach in the films that we watched. And that was 1939, man. That's crazy.
And then he went off to go film World War II.
World War II?
Yeah, like, went to Europe and filmed World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was incredible. The guy made an insane number of movies. All of them are worth watching to some degree. He made, like I said, comedies, romance, a lot more westerns, gritty police dramas of the 30s. I mean, I say gritty for Hollywood gritty.
And then his influence. Think about that. I mean, the influence that he had, not just, we talked about the damn near literal influence that he had on Akira Kurosawa, but also like just the directors that came after. The big famous Martin Scorsese was hugely influenced by him. Ask Scorsese, he'll tell you. Spielberg, hugely influenced by him. Come on.
Well, Spielberg, we talked a lot 2 weeks ago about
shoots in Monument Valley.
Yeah, I know. And War Horse is just a John Ford homage film, but like we talked a lot about the opening, closing shots of The Searchers. That is in Close Encounters, right? The doorway shot. There's a sequence during The Searchers when it was the destruction of the house and the family that begins the plot. That is so similar to the begining of A New Hope, right?
There's a lot
of Luke's aunt and uncle dying.
There's a lot of similarities too with Indiana Jones. Too.
Oh, sure.
I mean, obviously not in terms of actual content, but in terms of like structure and archetypes and stuff like that. I mean, if you look at, Last Crusade shoots in Monument Valley at the beginning of the film, and there you go. I wonder if Spielberg goes there if he's not a huge John Ford fan.
Oh no, he definitely was. That you go there because of the legacy of John Ford. What he did there. That's why we all know.
I would go there now for the legacy.
Yes, exactly. That's why we all know the name of this place in Utah, and it's gorgeous. It's insanely good. At one point, I was watching one of these films, and Sarah said, "So is every Western just kind of around these giant monuments, these giant national geographical monuments?" I go, "Yeah, because of these movies. Like John Ford filmed it, and everyone repeated it."
Yes, particularly, and when we say Western, we're talking specifically about Hollywood and American Westerns. Because spaghetti Westerns, when we're talking about Sergio Leone, that was obviously filmed in Italy.
Yeah,
so that was different. But what was so cool is you had those structures. They provide a couple of different things. One, they're beautiful to shoot because they're amazing looking. Two, they give you something constantly in the background as a marker to watch your characters move across the foreground. You have this huge monstrosity in the background and then characters moving across it. That just makes for good cinema and it creates motion, creates lines. So that's really cool. And then three, it's sort of like this ambiguous idea of well, what is the West? It's these things, these huge things out here. And the setting is not necessarily Utah. It's not necessarily Arizona or Texas or whatever. It's just, that's the West. That's the way we have sculpted the West as the Hollywood Western makers. And, so it's serves threefold. And if I'm going to shoot a Western now, come on, I gotta pay homage to that somehow, man. You gotta get out there, shoot Monument Valley, take a picture of that. And that's really cool. And when it's not there, I miss it. Like in Liberty Valance, I missed it.
Well, and Liberty Valance has a kind of a cool element to it because to me also the way you kind of look at that wild, wild West is a bit of the danger to it. I have to travel all the way over there and I can see for miles and miles and miles and I also do not see any anywhere to go, anywhere to stay, anywhere to get water, anywhere to get supplies. I'm going very, very far without these kind of resources oftentimes. So at the end of Liberty Valance, as many years have gone past and we're now in a different century, when the final sequence is him on a train and they're bragging about how it's so much easier to travel now. We're going to get up to 25 miles an hour as opposed to Stagecoach, which is a very reasonable thing to go from one town to another. Will probably cost you your lives.
Yeah. Well, in Stagecoach, they have to go 80 miles. And it takes, it's a long journey. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to go 80 miles. It's not an hour and 20 minutes up the highway. And the fear is that you have to cross the territory where people are going to try to kill you. So, yeah, I mean, it's that risk of that knowledge of that risk going out there is, it's very, very real. It feels very, very real. And it's just, and I'm sorry, I mean, I'm a sucker for all those things that we sort of marvel at that we don't have to worry about anymore. Like, I think that's kind of cool. I always have like that. You know, Mad Men actually always played with that. Like it would say, or not just stuff we don't have to worry about anymore, but just how things have changed and how different things are. Like I always think about Betty and Don leaving their trash everywhere in the park.
Me too.
Because I think about that shot a lot. Because it's like, it was just so, we used to do that.
Well, it's also a thing for people like us. We never even like heard about people doing that.
Yeah.
So we're now a generation away
Beyond
from that. So we're kind of seeing these glimpses of the past of like, right, rivers sucked when you had a horse. Like crossing that was insane.
Yes. Yeah. You're hung up on that.
It was
you
crazy.
love that.
Watching a horse, a stagecoach go through a river or horses coming to go down a hill covered in snow. I'm like, oh, this is a nightmare.
Yeah, this sucks. It had it was echoes of like Fitzcarraldon getting the boat like over the hill. And yeah, I know, I definitely felt that because again with the Ford Western in general too, because it probably was really happening. But there's a strong verisimilitude in the films that make you feel like you feel the grit, you feel the struggle. Like that's like part of it, and like and with that you feel the adventure.
Yes.
Right. So like that, and that's big too. So you want to rank these five?
Yeah. Do you have yours?
Let me think about it. You go.
It's really close up top, but
are you gonna go from 5 to 1?
I'll go from 5 to 1. Fifth is easily Grapes of Wrath. 4 is My Darling Clementine. 3 is The Searchers. 2 is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and 1 is Stagecoach because, goddamn, Stagecoach, man.
Yeah. So. I don't know if this is going to be a first, but I think I have the exact same. So, yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Grapes of Wrath, My Darling Clementine. And this is tight. Searchers, Liberty Valance is tight for me. But my heart... Liberty Valance is probably... Or, excuse me, Searchers is probably the more important film. Like, if I had to throw one in the garbage and never see it again, it'd probably be Liberty Valance. But I think it is. Liberty Valance is the better film. So go Searchers. Liberty Valance is number 2. And I think number 1, strongly, categorically, like, I'm saying, yes, this film, Stagecoach is the best film that we watched on here.
I mean, I'm really close to Liberty Valance. Like,
yeah,
I was impressed with, like, how, especially after kind of watching The Searchers, and it has its up and down moments, and Liberty Valance is just up all the way.
Yeah, that's true.
But so is Stagecoach. And Stagecoach is
I like the gimmick of Stagecoach so much.
Crazy.
I like this idea of these strangers having to go on this adventure together. Like all those things that I just talked about. Now you're like total strangers, but all the strangers are archetypes too. I keep losing that word, but they all have like a different. They also all have like a different skill set they bring, which is like cool too. Like he's the doc, but then they all have like a negative too. Like he's the doctor, but he's a drunk. He's the hero, but he's an outlaw. He's a good gun, but he's vying for the girl, and he's a Confederate soldier. She's the damsel, but she's pregnant, and actually not the damsel. It's like she's the love interest, but she's also a hooker. Like I think that's cool. Like that's really cool. And then Andy Devine's driving the Stagecoach. Man, that can't be good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing of like giving everyone their hook. 80 minutes, fun, funny, great action,
well shot.
It's awesome. It's a great one.
So, what are we doing next?
Well,
I actually don't know.
You don't?
No, I don't know. Because you had it to like 2 last time we talked.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold off on the other one because
I don't know what the other one is because I don't know how you picked.
Oh god, this is such good radio. We are going to leave America and we're going to go with Pedro Almodovar, who is absolutely amazing auteur. You see his films up for Best Foreign Film in the Oscars. He has this kind of very playful, vibrant sense to him. I mean, this guy is amazing with color and emotions, and It's going to be a lot of fun. This guy brings the credibility back to some melodrama. And we're going to be covering, first up, his farce, Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, then All About My Mother, then Talk to Her, then Voltaire, and then we're going to do one of his more genre-y ones, The Skin I Live In. So you'll recognize people like Penelope Cruz and Antonio Banderas in these films, because this is where they became famous. And then did American blockbusters and got rich. But this is their indie cred.
Yeah. So I've only seen one of these films.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. They're just really damn good movies. I'm excited. I've been wanting to rewatch so many of these for a while, and these can be a cool 5. And we're going to start with Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown in 2 days on our Friday show.
Indeed we will. And that's the one I've seen.
Oh, perfect. We should record a podcast about it. So we'll see you on Friday. Until then, you can go to arttomore.com. Let us know about your favorite John Ford films. Which ones would you include in a John Ford Part 2, 5? Or whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you what to tell us. Maybe cover anything you want. Also, special thanks to Adam Lord for the music for all these episodes. Over at theartmore.com, you can check out other podcasts, including The Immortals and Ad Absurdum. Leave us a review on iTunes. It will help people find this show. Where can we find you, Eric?
Constant Diversions, my YouTube channel.
Check it out.
You could go there.
Do it. Subscribe.
Why not? Like
those videos.
Mm-hmm.
You need to record
I need to record a video and do it.
Well, also, you need to have that YouTube staple of you talking to the camera going, "Oh, thank you all for watching. Please rate and subscribe." And you have to move your hands like, "Oh, there's a button above me." It's hilarious because no one else has done it before.
Horse. All
right. But seriously, leave us a review on iTunes. We'll catch y'all next time. I'm Austin.
I'm Eric.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. This is Austin here, interrupting myself to add something to the bottom of this episode. We had planned to start our Pedro Almodovar 5 this Friday. We thought we'd have enough episodes in the can in order to do this, but unfortunately we did not due to some very particular scheduling issues in that in just a couple of days, our co-host Eric Martindale is getting married. So, we always knew that this could possibly line up to some difficulty in scheduling, and so we're going to be back in 2 weeks to begin our Pedro Almodovar 5. But until then, let me just be the first to, definitely on a podcast, congratulate Eric and Meg for their very happy wedding, and we look forward to coming back. So, here's Steven Spielberg talking about John Ford. Bye, everyone.
I try to write a John Ford film, 1 or 2, before I start every movie, simply because he inspires me, and I'm very sensitive to the way he uses his camera to paint his pictures, and the way he frames things, and the way he stages and blocks his people, often keeping the camera static while the people give you the illusion there's a lot more kinetic movement occurring when there's not. So, in that sense, he's like a classic painter. And he celebrates the frame, not just, what happens inside of it. And so I have to look at The Searchers. Have to. Almost every time. And there's some other films like The Informer that I have to look at, and films like Tobacco Road, which I love. I really admire Stagecoach because, for one thing, it was John Ford's first foray into Monument Valley. So he was starting to use landscape art to help tell his story, to create God's country, and to put little figures in a grand landscape. And he began to bring nature into his films. And more than any of his silent movies, this was where he really began to use nature as a character in his pictures. And I also like when the guy has the Bible open, the arrow goes through the book into his heart. That's pretty cool.